Sunnahfollowers, protectors of the Sunnah. Sunnahfollowers, protectors of the Sunnah.
Alhamdulillah wa salam ala wa rasulullah. Welcome to Living the Sunnah. And this is the series whereas we discuss issues that are plaguing our ummah today and how through incorporating the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam into our lives, we can overcome some of these issues. And today we're going to discuss a growing problem within our Muslim communities. And that problem is substance abuse, alcohol, marijuana, cocaine, pills. Despite all these things being unlawful and dangerous, they have become so popular that our question tonight is, what has caused our nation to succumb to this lifestyle? We have joining us tonight one of the scholars of our website, Dr. Ibrahim Jamali, and also we have Brother Muhammad Ziada from the Broward Sheriff's Department in Fort Lauderdale, America. And inshallah, together, they will help to shed some light and offer answers as to why this nation seems to become attracted to drugs and substance abuse. So let's start this off with Dr. Jamali. Dr. Jamali, can you please explain to us, what does Islam have to say about alcohol and drugs?
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا من سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Honestly, brother, my sister Layla, I'm so happy to see brother Muhammad here. Muhammad is actually professional about this field very well. In fact, since I met him a few years ago in Florida, and he take care of many youth, I know very well. But brother and sister, about halal and haram here. My job was halal and was haram. Wallahi, I mentioned this before with Sister Layla, with Sunnahfollowers. If we really understand the Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah and how Allah has ordered us what to do in the Quran and in the Sunnah of Rasulullah, our life will be very simple and easy. But we memorizing the Quran, but we're not applying the Quran. We love Rasulullah but not really following the steps of Rasulullah. It's very different here, brother and sister. Everybody, my dear brother and sister, in Friday recites Surah Al-Kahf or listening to Surah Al-Kahf. The last story of Musa alayhi salam about فانطلق حتى إذا أتى أهل قرية استطعم أهلها فأبوا أن. You know the ayah number 77 actually Surah Al-Kahf. Every Friday. Musa alayhi salam with Al-Khadr alayhi salam, they are going to one place. The third place is a village. This village, a house, almost one of the wall demolished, and Al-Khadr immediately went to fix the wall. By the way, this village, stingy people, stingy and bad people, but only this house, Al-Khadr, with Musa, the one Musa, a teaching prophet Musa alayhi salam, he built the wall, and Musa alayhi salam is surprised. لو شئت اتخذت عليه أجرا. You can without, you just build it without even, you can ask for money for that. And he said, I'm not going, that's it, done. He asked 3 questions, and the third question said no more. But he said, I think the 3 in the answer. أما الجدار about the wall فكان لغلامين يتيمين. Give me attention the story, but we have to get this story for me, for my kids, and yourself also. يتيمين في المدينة وكان تحته كنز لهما. The two orphan kids. And in that house, that demolished house, there is a treasure. كنز لهما وكان, give me attention, وكان أبوهما صالحا. The key, the parents, righteous people, husband and wife, the father and the mom, فكان أبوهما صالحا. And حتى يبلغ أشدهما, want to be strong. They are not strong, they are babies. وكان أبوهما صالحا حتى يبلغ. And then Allah revealed to him to build it. Why? Because they are righteous parents. Now, brothers and sisters, we always speak about kids and liquor and this and that, Islamically here. This story, Allah Azza wa Jal, he make Musa alayhi salam, Al-Khadr alayhi salam, see that demolished house, and a stranger came to rebuild the house. Why? Because their fathers, maybe grandfather righteous. Now I have to ask myself, and everyone please in Sunnahfollowers here, ask yourself, do really I am righteous person, husband and wife? Do I really righteous person or not? If I'm righteous person, my son for sure be a righteous person. Why? Because he's gonna imitate both of them. You are an example for your father and your mom as well, brothers and sisters. Your example. Yes, scientifically, the liquor and the cigarette and all these haram things, the people use it right now, and marijuana and all, you can name it. It's hurting myself. And I know, but all those people, they know it's hurting myself. But of course, Islamically, as Sister Layla spoke about what everybody knows, even those people, they know it's haram, it's prohibited. But then, of course, our era now is changed, a lot of changes. But wallahi, brother and sister, if you're not fixing yourself first, do not blame your son and your daughter. If I'm not fixing the way I speak to my wife and my wife is speaking with me, if not, I'm not now not fixing the relationship between my wife and my husband, I lose my kids, and you never know. And my kids, when you doctor, engineer, but the house, corrupted house, husband and wife. How your son to be something? So as Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu قال, حاسبوا أنفسكم قبل أن تحاسب. Judge yourself before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala judge. Brother and sister, I'll leave it to Sister Layla and Brother Muhammad, inshallah. Sister Layla.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you for that, Dr. Jamali. Brother Muhammad, have you yourself encountered many Muslims that have fallen victim to substance abuse? And if so, what are some of the things that's caused them to fall victim to these things? If you could tell us, please.
You know, it's funny when we talk about substance abuse, it's the Muslim community is very private about these things. We don't like to talk about it. We don't want our neighbors knowing about it. We don't want the community knowing about it. Unfortunately, what happens is in the realm of substance abuse, mental health, stuff like that, we don't want the community at large to know these things, especially about our children, because what happens, we start to think, as the older generation starts to think, you know, if somebody finds out that my kid has a drug problem, he's never going to get married, or she's never going to get married, and nobody's going to want to, you know, have an association with this. So what happens is everything stays hidden. So people don't really look for help. And the things that I've talked about, the lectures I've had at the Muslim community centers and all that stuff that I've talked to people about is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us people who know things, knowledgeable people, right? If you got something wrong with your stomach, you're going to go to a doctor. If you got something wrong with your feet, you're going to go to a foot doctor. If you got something wrong with your teeth, you're going to go to a dentist. But unfortunately, when we have a problem when it comes to substance abuse or mental health, we don't want to go to anybody. we want to just pray on it and ask Allah to help us and Allah to guide us and Allah to protect us and all that stuff. But Allah's giving you the tools to go and say, hey, look, I got a problem, or my son has a problem, or my daughter has a problem. And I have seen in the last 5 to 6 years, and most recently after the pandemic happened and everything, that people have been running to drugs and alcohol. Why? And there's many, many reasons why. And I know, Sheikh Malik had kind of brought up that story, and the reasons behind it I've been seeing, just me personally, in the fields that I've been working in, is people are depressed. All right, people are depressed. You can have the best mom, the best dad, but at the end of the day, if you're not talking to your kids, if you're not knocking on their doors, if you're not taking their door down, if you're not stopping them from talking to their people on the Facebook, online, on TikTok, watching all these things, then expect them to not be as good as you want them to be. Right. And subhanAllah, like how I explain to people is that if you're not talking to your kids, somebody else is. Okay. If you're not hanging out with your kids, somebody else is. Is it exhausting? I will tell you, just from personal level, it is exhausting. I do work. We starting a business. We go to soccer practice with my son. I do coaching for my son, basketball and soccer. I do basketball with my daughter. We're keeping them busy outside of the home with us on the daily, on the regular. My daughter's 13. My son is 10. My daughter will go play her game. Where's dad? Where's dad? How come dad's not here? Looking for me, right? Because she knows, she needs her dad with her. And if we're not doing that, if we're not talking to our kids, they're going to find some other way, some other outlet to find a way to get off that depression, off that anxiety. And that's the newest thing now is anxiety and depression. That's a whole another lecture series we can do about anxiety and depression. But substance abuse is very, very, very easy. We're just talking about alcohol and drugs, and you're bringing up the hardcore drugs of meth and pills and all that stuff. But me personally, what I've seen now is people are very addicted to caffeine. Right? Caffeine is the #1 drug use right now that's legal. You can drink 10 cups of coffee, you won't get arrested. You can buy those 5-hour energy drinks and drink 13 of those and you won't get arrested. You won't get in trouble. It's legalized caffeine drugs, cigarettes, vaping, all that stuff, which is legal now. You can't get arrested for it. Right? And now marijuana is becoming prevalent in all the states, which is becoming legal. It's becoming normalized, right? We're starting to normalize all these things that back in our days, we didn't really need, right? We didn't really need the marijuana to calm down. We didn't need the alcohol to chill out. And if you look at what the shows are really impacting our children with, the TV shows that they're watching, the movies that they're watching. I mean, even, you watch the Captain Marvels and the Tony Stark, he always has a cup of liquor in his hand because it's the cool thing to do, carrying a cup of liquor. And, because he's so rich and he's so famous that liquor is cheap for him. We watch these shows, and the subliminal messaging that they're throwing at our children is very, very, very prevalent. We as parents have to be the people that really will sit down and watch these shows with them and explain to them, hey, this is not what we do. This is haram. Why is this haram? And, I explain to my kids and I explain to the youth groups when I do these classes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stopped alcohol, right? Back in the days, right? Brother Batim, Sheikh Batim, can I, elaborate more on this? But back in the days, the Muslim, the people used to drink heavily, but he didn't stop it at one shot deal because he knew, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that you can't just stop substance abuse. You got to slowly change that habit, right? And if we want to talk statistically, yes, and Muslims have been getting closer and have been using drugs more, which is subhanAllah scarier than I've seen ever. And what's even worse and what really hurts me is when I see a hijab girl coming into the courthouse. That right there really kind of just breaks my heart. Coming into the courthouse and the way we do things out here, I don't know how it is in Ohio, but when you get arrested for drugs, you basically lose a lot of your freedoms. And I'm pretty sure, because I was in Philly, it was the same way. I'm pretty sure it's the same way in Ohio and the same way in usually states, but they have drug court programs out there. So you get arrested with drugs, you get arrested with alcohol, you get arrested for something, or drug related or substance abuse related. You get arrested, you get your fingerprints done, you go to court. The judge thinks you got a drug problem. You come to the drug court programs. They do therapy for you for a year. In that 1 year of doing rehab, you're coming in and out, you're doing groups, you're doing individual sessions, but you lose a sense of freedom. You got probation now. You got somebody knocking on your door, checking in on you. You got go pee in front of somebody. You can't pee by yourself anymore. You can't go to the bathroom by yourself. Somebody has to watch you and monitor you just in case. They got to test your urine every 3 or 4 days to make sure you're not doing drugs. You lose a sense of yourself, right? And the people I've worked with, Muslims and non-Muslims, will tell you it's traumatizing, right? That's something, just going to the bathroom by yourself is something that you get so used to as growing up, as a teenager and as an adult, that now you have to have somebody watching you. And that right there in and of itself is traumatizing to a lot of the people that come and see me. And I tell everybody, avoid all this stuff. There's so many different ways of kind of like avoiding all these different distractions. And that's what it is. It becomes a distraction. Substance abuse, the drugs, it makes you feel better, but temporary. Right. And then what happens is you end up going back and forth to the same thing. Oh, my problems are still here. I'm going to use this to cover that problem. You cover that problem, but guess what? It's still here waiting for you to come back. So yes, I will tell you that there are lots of seeing a lot of Muslims, not just Arab, not just Arabs. I'm seeing a lot of Muslims in general are coming to alcohol and substance abuse, and it's getting scary. You're still on mute, sister. Sorry.
Brother Muhammad, when you see a young girl, a young Muslim girl, or a young Muslim boy who's, early teens coming into the office with a drug problem or with an alcohol problem, what's going on in the home? I mean, what's driving a child so young to turn to that? What have you experienced?
What's when you ask that question, it's funny because we always expect something to be going on in the house, right? And normally, I'll say 80% of the time, yes, there's something going on in the house, whether the parents are divorcing. And again, we can do a whole other topic about marriage because I do a lot of premarital counseling. I do a lot of marriage counseling stuff. There's a whole lot of aspect to that. And I always tell people, like, I really don't care about you two, but I care about your kids. And what happens is when those kids lose that father figure or the daughter loses the mother figure, when they lose that aspect, they lose a sense of themselves, right? And I don't care what anybody says. The kid needs their mom and dad until a certain age, right? Until at least, for me, I needed my dad all my life. But, there's a sense of like, you got to teach your kids how to be raised properly. And if you're busy fighting with each other, yelling at each other, screaming at each other, and your kid's right there watching, listening, grabbing all that stuff, and they're saying, well, you're this and you're that. And a lot of the Muslim kids, subhanAllah, they'll tell me things that they normally wouldn't tell a regular person. They won't go to tell an imam or a sheikh because they've gotten it's just haram. Stop, it's haram. Allah says it's haram and that's it. We always throw the haram, 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 but we don't explain the why. So once you get them comfortable enough, they start to tell you what's going on in the house. And it's divorcing, or it's my daddy or mommy aren't together anymore, or my daddy drinks alcohol constantly. Why does he get to do it when I can't? Or my mom, she got a back surgery. Now she's taking pills. And that was 3 years ago, but she's still taking the same pills. And I tried it, and now I know why my mom takes it. So you hear all these things, and subhanAllah, you'll see the most religious people, the most religious father, the most religious mother, the most pious of people having children with these problems. And again, it goes back to becoming that depression, that anxiety, that how can I live up to the standards of my father? Living in this country where we're outnumbered, right? We're outnumbered. SubhanAllah, Islam I was watching this thing the other day. Islam is the fastest growing religion, right? And the reason behind it is Muslims like to have kids, right? And the Christians and the Catholics, they don't want to have kids. They want to have parties and they want to do their own thing. So we're the fastest growing religion. And I keep telling myself, inshallah, I get to live in that time where I see where Islam and Muslims are up here again. And, we're like taking back what we had from before. We don't want to conquer. We want to conquer ourselves. Right. And I keep telling these kids, like, the jihad is really within yourself. The fighting within yourself, the understanding that you don't need marijuana, you don't need alcohol to make yourselves happy or to calm yourselves down. All you need to do is talk. And the biggest thing I've seen is these kids are telling me my parents don't listen. Us parents, we don't listen. What we do is we're listening, we're hearing what they're saying, but we're formulating a response in our heads to get right back at them. Why? Why are we fighting back with our children? Let's listen. Just shut your mouth, open your ears, and listen to what your kids are saying. The problem, the other problem that I have is when we do these types of forums, the people that need to hear these things aren't here. Right? We're talking to parents, we're talking to an imam, we're talking to shiuch, we're talking to you guys, but the people that really need to hear this aren't here. The kids need to understand, the parents need to understand what the kids are feeling, what the kids are going through. Because remember, back in our days, I don't know how old you are, sister, but back in my days, we get bullied in school, we go home and we forget about it because it's done. Now we get bullied in school, these kids get bullied in school, they get right back on their phones and they're still getting bullied at home. They're still going at, on their computers to go do their schoolwork, and they're getting messages. The bullying, the frustration, the anger is going constantly, right? And then, well, I think we talked about this last time, taking these away. Once you're back from school, that's it. Taking this thing down, you're done. You don't need this anymore. You're home. This is just for safety and emergencies only, not to be sitting here and scrolling while we're at the dinner table and listening and seeing what's going on in the social media and caring what our friends are thinking or friends are saying. We got to talk to our children. We got to let them talk. We got to hear them. That's it. Not talk at them, talk with them.
Brother Muhammad,
No, Habib.
some parents, they do that. They take the phone from their kids. Believe it or not, I know actually people, they took the phone. The kids call the police for the parents. Become extremely addicted. Addiction to the phone. Plus, they cannot even leave the phone. When the parents take the phone, at least for dinner, they call the police. What you would
and I'll tell you just by, I know what you're talking about, and I've seen that and I've heard about that. Kids calling the parent, oh, my dad hit me because I didn't miss school. And you'll hit those cops you'll get deputies that don't know what to do. You'll get those, but I will tell you now, what's going on, at least here in this county. I don't know, what's going on in the other counties, but we're actually certifying a lot of our deputies to understand that kind of stuff now, to understand the addiction, to understand the mental health aspect of a lot of stuff. So this is newer now, because like I will tell you, the pandemic opened up a whole spew of mental health and substance abuse issues down here in Broward County, at least. So we've been now going full force with trainings and understanding and letting these guys know, listen, it's not just arresting the kids or arresting the parents. You got to have some sense of empathy to understand what the parents are going through right now, right? And so sometimes now what's going on is they're actually going out with social workers, right? We're going out with social workers to say, so the social worker kind of de-escalate the situation, see what's going on. All right, man, this is just a BS call. We don't need anything going on here. The kid's an addicted person. And now the social worker say, hey, listen, if this is going to keep happening, you got a problem. Not your parents, but you got the problem. So maybe you need to help. So this the mindset of what you're talking about is changing. It's changing for the better.
But also another serious problem, Brother Muhammad, another serious problem. I believe all of us here in Sunnahfollowers with Sister Layla, you have masajid, a lot of masjid next to your family. But unfortunately, I didn't see one single masjid in our area. And actually, I travel different states also. I see the masajid, not even one single masjid take care of the youth.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
And that's very, listen, I will tell you, I've seen that too, and I've tried. You see me, I always try to go into as many messages as I can to help out down here. And the problem that we have as a Muslim society, as an Islamic society, and Broward County at least, I don't know how it is in there again, but we don't want to talk about these things because we're afraid that if we talk about substance abuse and mental health, it's going to bring the problem to them. We don't realize the problem's already here, right? The problem's already here. So when I try to explain to these teachers, to the principals, to the board members, brothers, please, I'm telling you that we got a problem here. You just don't want to close your eyes and hide behind the tree and think it's not there. There is a problem. And we as Muslims need to understand that we can't keep hiding from it. It's not the way it was back in my dad's days or my old days. This is the new generation, right? The newer generation, and I call the new generation the 30s and under. right? Maybe the 25s and under. Those are the guys that really they got born and raised where the phones were, just coming in and internet was coming up, and now they're into that realm. We had the time where we didn't have a phone. We were raised where the street lights were our alarm clock to come home. We were raised by my mom, who said, get the hell out of the house and don't come back until the street lights come down, because go out and play. So it's a different time, brother. And our Muslim here don't want to see that there's a problem.
Yeah.
Exactly. Also, another thing too that we notice with the Muslim youth today, when we do try to approach them, like you said, we tell them things are haram, but we need to explain. And then for some of us who do try to explain why, the children say, oh, that was back in those days, they didn't have those problems that we have today then. And that's where I like to know, Dr. Jermali, when children come at us with those type of comments, oh, that didn't happen back in the Prophet's days, or that didn't happen back then. Are there any instances from the Sunnah that you can tell us of where there were companions who actually did suffer, with substance abuse? And if so, can you tell them about us? Tell us of them.
Yeah, in fact, number one, by the way, brother and sister, before by the way, you have no right, to hit and insult your son. And why actually, subhanAllah, today and yesterday, you have people, husband and wife, insulting each other, they want to get divorced. By the way, please give me attention. If you insult your wife and your husband against each other and fight together in front of the kids, you lose your kids by default. As far as there is no respect in the house, akhlaq, morality in the house between husband and wife is number one. That means that house is not really a stable house. Trust me with that. I'm dealing with this in daily basis. Number one. Number two, before the Sunnah, the Quran, we spoke about Surah Al-Hujurat once. And actually, I was in Ohio with Sister Layla. We spoke about it also. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us how to deal with husband and wife and son and daughters. Everybody recite Surah Luqman. The whole page in the Quran about Luqman Islam and his son. And he had, every time he spoiled his son. I'm talking about Quran. Number one, he told his son, Ya bunayya, always my son, my sonny, my sweetheart, for the sister. You want to speak with your son. And the Sunnah, by the way, many occasions, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he saw a man drunk. We know this, Sister Layla mentioned that before, a drunk. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how he dealt with that? He deal with the person. And a person, he came with, Sister Layla spoke about this before, about the person he want to commit adultery, zina. And everybody got angry. So Rasulullah, he become Muslim, but except I can make zina. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the intelligent way, he spoke with him with a smile, number one. Number two, he put his hand on his chest. And he gave me a question. SubhanAllah, Allah, today, brother and sister, today, a person, he's 37 years old. He wants to get married for a girl 14 years old, 14. And what? He said she loved him, she's 14, he's 37. And not only that, the father wanted to. I said, but Sheikh Ibrahim, what do you think about that? Halal? Don't speak about halal and haram here. I speak the Rasulullah told the man, what he told him, you want to accept that for your sister, for your daughter, for your mom, for your family? He said, no. I asked this man today the same thing. Do you like to, if you have a daughter, he's not married, he want to marry 14 years, if you have a daughter or your sister in this age, do you accept your sister to get married in this age? And he said, no. So why do you accept that for your daughter? for that girl when married at 14 years old. Plus, illegal too. Brother and sister, many ahadith with that, the time is running. Brother Muhammad, you speak more about that. But haram, wallahi, Allah will ask me. Allah will ask me how I deal my son or my daughter. But before that, Allah asked me about myself, how I deal with this kind of problems. I have to fix myself. I have to fix my manners and etiquette. I have to fix my mouth when I speak to the others, especially husband and wife in front of the kids. Brother Muhammad, I have something very important, Brother Muhammad. Sunnahfollowers, alhamdulillah, and with Sister Layla more than 30 years with Sunnahfollowers. 30 years, alhamdulillah. Even when I was sick, I was in a coma, still Sister Layla always active, very active. Not only that, many shuyukh and many doctors with Sunnahfollowers. Plus Sunnahfollowers, Brother Muhammad, is international, not only in the state of America. I'm thinking actually, Brother Muhammad, a lot of parents actually, sister, every Wednesday, Sister Layla and I, and sometimes my wife also, speaking about this, and the sisters and the brothers, the parents, they're interested to speak about that. If there is any certain course, two courses actually, one course for the parents, for mom and dad, and another course only for the youth. Sister Isra, actually, every Sunday, I met Sister Isra last week, last Saturday in Ohio. And she's doing an excellent job, Sister Isra. I don't know if you're there. And she making like a PowerPoint with the youth. If you join Sister Isra, or you have your own 2 days, one for adults and one for youth. Can you do that, Brother Muhammad?
We can talk. Let's talk about that after all this, because I know I saw some hands going up and I saw some people having some questions. But we can talk about that. Yeah, of course. I listen. You know how I am. I love to help as much as I can.
All right,
yeah, Brother Muhammad. Another question, a big question a lot of people have is: are there more? Do you find more women or more men turning towards alcohol and drugs? And why do you think that is so?
I think what I'm seeing now, I'm seeing more women coming to using alcohol and drugs, but the men still outnumber the women in this realm. And the reason behind it is men are very, we're always told to shut our mouths and no crying and don't have feelings, right? Like we're always brought up and kind of told not to show our feelings. We're not allowed to cry. You're a man, no crying. You're a man, no feelings. Well, with women, they're able to talk more. They're able to articulate better their emotions to their parents, their family members, to their friends or whoever. But us men, we can't do that. We're not allowed to, right? And I know from just my own experience and seeing what's going on from Philadelphia, from here, working this realm for 18 years, over 18, I keep saying that I feel so old, 18 plus years, the women are coming up. Right. And it's what's scary is, when you're wearing a hijab, you expect, you're representing Islam more than I am. My big nose and my beard doesn't, I'm either Mexican or I'm Jewish or I'm Arab. They don't know what I am. But when you're wearing a hijab, you're symbolizing what Islam is all about. So when you're coming through the courthouse, when you're coming to the program, when you're going to the drug testing site to go pee in front of somebody, when you're doing all that stuff, it hurts more for me to see a woman going through that, a Muslim woman any woman in general, women, females in general are I kind of tell people like women are a little bit higher than men in the totem pole of Islamic rights and religious freedoms and stuff like that. But we're coming up. And the reason why is, again, men, Islam, especially Muslim men, just from my own personal experience, shut up, don't talk. You get hurt or somebody hurts your feelings, you're not allowed to cry. You're not allowed to talk about it. But with a woman, it's like, oh, Habibti, what happened? What's going on? What's wrong? I do that with my daughter. I'm not gonna lie, I do that with my daughter. When she falls down playing basketball, like, baby girl, you okay? Habibti, you all right? And when my son falls, get up, get up, boom, get up, you're not hurt, get up. We do that, right? And maybe it's not intentional. You love it, you're laughing at me, but it's not intentional. And then I catch myself and I'm like, oh my God, don't do that. Don't do it, because we have to start to change that mindset of our boys can't talk. Our boys need to come to a father who can talk. Our boys need to come to a mother who's empathetic and understanding. And us men, we need to understand that we're not in that generation where we were before.
Yes.
We have to capitalize on the fact that there's resources out there, right? If you're in a masjid and you have a problem with your family, your job is to go to ask somebody for help. Again, we go to our Muslim doctors in a heartbeat, but we don't want to come to our Muslim therapist. I have my name under the ICNA people. I don't know if you guys know who ICNA Relief is, but I put my name under their thing. I said, listen, if anybody needs help, let them call me. And alhamdulillah, I got like 4 or 5 phone calls. And I got some people with some issues that I'm helping out with. I'm talking to them, marriage counseling, doing some stuff here and there, helping people out. But it's like, there's more out there. There's a lot more out there. And the problem that we have is our parents are so still old school minded, right? And our kids are so new school minded, right? So we have to kind of find that bridge that gap. And that's what I'm trying to do with what I do with you guys, what I do with all these Muslim people, the kids I'm dealing with the parents. You know, when we talk about marriage and divorce, again, that's a whole different topic. You know, we've adjusted our lives to the American generation, right? And when I work in the courthouse for many years, and I talk to a lot of attorneys, and all the attorneys will tell me the same thing. I love doing a divorce for a Muslim family. And I'll say, why? And he says, because you guys put each other through the ringer. And this Jewish guy, it will always stay in my head, this Jewish lawyer says to me, you guys have it written in your Quran, said it just like that. You have it written in your Quran how to do a divorce, but you guys don't follow it. And that hurt. That really hurt. I said, man, and he's like, Muhammad, I've been doing divorces for 15 years. My favorite people are the Muslims. Because you guys, and just like Brother said it, we're not allowed to do that. We put our wives to the ringer. The wives put our husbands to the ringer. And in the mix, our kids get lost. And then they go turn to drugs and alcohol. They go turn to their friends. Oh, my daddy ain't here anyway, so I'm gonna pop a couple of pills. My mama does it anyway. She feels better. She goes to sleep better. Let me pop a couple of pills. And this is what we come now to, the fact that the women are seeing what's going on with our moms. And then they see it's like a chain reaction, right? Like a domino effect. My mom got divorced, so if I don't like this guy, I'm gonna get divorced. We run straight to the divorcing. We run straight to the drugs. We run straight to the alcohol without trying to fix what's going on within ourselves and within that family realm, right? And you want to talk about doing a session with the parents and a session with the kids, we'll do that all day long. But if you don't get the right people in those seats,
Exactly.
nothing's going to change. Nothing will change.
Exactly. And we have a couple questions. Sister Samira,
Yes.
Go ahead, Sister Samira. I know you're dying to get on the mic. Samira, take the mic and ask your question. Go ahead. Samira? Is she able to use her mic, guys? Samira.
I see her question on chat. Lots of children's babysitters are the phone, computers, etc. I always suggest that those parents encouraging imagination in kids. We played with a rock in a dump school, hopscotch. Yeah, she's absolutely correct. And that's what becomes, and I've seen it all the time, even in restaurants, when you go to restaurants or we go out to eat, even in the masjids, when you go to Friday prayers and I see the fathers who bring their kids to the Friday prayers, the little kids, 4 or 5 years old, they bring out their tablets and their phones and they say, hey, just watch this until the imam is done, the sheikh is done with the lecture. Why are we doing this?
Allah.
Yeah, that was my point. I see it all the time, even with my own stepchildren. They were 2 young people that can function a phone before they can write their name. And to me, it's sad because the children of today are virtually schooled.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know cursive. They're missing a lot of the important links dealing with the imagination.
Yeah.
They don't, unless they see it. My schooling consisted of a lot of reading.
Mm-hmm.
Reading, and it was to me like a movie played out in my head. Reading involves imagination.
Yeah.
These children lack imagination.
Yes.
Because of the society, we're instantly fed these visuals all the time. We have so been clouded by input, and instant reactions and instant everything. Like if you wait a few minutes on hold, you're upset. So I try to encourage the children to be patient. I try to encourage them to use their imagination, get with a crayon, a pencil, and a paper, not always screen time.
Yeah.
Even the doctors who insist that screen time before bed is not good. People fall asleep with their TV.
And I will ask you, Sister Samira, I will ask you a question. And
Yes.
this goes to everybody on this chat with us, because we always say, we encourage and we talk, but are we practicing what we're preaching? Right?
Exactly.
You want our kids to read books. Are you reading a book? Are you sitting there reading a book? Right? We have in my house, we have a bunch of crossword puzzles. Right? We do crossword puzzles challenges. Who can get the crossword puzzle done first? Right? We buy 4 of the same crossword puzzles. All right, guys, we're gonna turn to page 52. Boom. Let's see who can do it faster. And we'll line. Who's cheating? Who's not cheating? We're playing, we're joking, we're having a good time, we're circling letters, we're circling words, we're using our brains, we're getting off the screens. When we talk about encouraging, we have to do it as well. We can't tell our kids to go read a book and we go turn on TV.
Do as I say, not as I do mentality.
Exactly. Okay, Lucy, I think has a question.
Assalamu alaikum, sorry. I'm going through the papers. But today's society is so sensitive because they don't associate with people. They don't have conversations. They don't sit down and write long hands. They don't go outside and play. They insist that their kids do what they say do, but they don't do what they say. So when you say that your kids are sitting in front of the TV, how long have you been sitting in front of the TV today? What did you do today to get exercise besides walk from the kitchen to the living room or to the bathroom, back to the living room? That is the serious question. And when I say that they are desocializing themselves from each other, they stay on the computer all the time. They don't go face to face. They don't have a conversation. They don't know how to socialize as in having a decent conversation between two people without getting offended, without saying that this person has offended me. We can walk down the hallway and you can just look at a person and, oh, she offended me. How did I offend you? Because I look to see what you look like? That is my question. Why is everybody so sensitive about everything?
Well, here's what I've seen so far, working in this field for such a long time. You're right, everybody's sensitive, right? And we're being conditioned that way. Right? We're being very conditioned. If you listen to the words of the songs that these kids are listening to, it's all about negativity, it's all about women, it's all about money, it's all about drugs, it's all about this, and it's all about that. But if somebody says something personally to another person, you can't say that. I'm offended, and I'm upset now. Now I'm sad. Well, sad equals depressed. Now I'm depressed. Being depressed means I need drugs, right? And what we don't understand is, and this is kind of one of the things I've always talked about with the kids. It's okay to be sad. You're allowed to. You have to be sad. If you're not sad sometimes, then there's a problem, right? There's a big problem. Your father passes away, you better be sad. You lose a pet, you better be sad. But that's not depressed. Right, there's a difference between being sad and depressed. And again, that's a whole mental health story, lecture I can go into about that, but that's at a later time. But you're absolutely right. We're a very sensitive people, right? Even for me, like the way I talk sometimes to different schools. Hey, Muhammad, you can't talk like this in this school. It's different. You can talk like that over there in the ghetto, but you can't talk like that. Well, I just talk the way I talk. So if they don't like the way I talk, then don't let me come and present. Because I'm not going to change the way I do my things because of these kids' sensitivities or these parents' sensitivities. So there's actual places I won't go into because they can't handle the way I talk. And again, I really look right. What you're seeing right now is a changed Muhammad, because I used to curse a lot when I do my lectures. I used to be real. And now I've calmed even my wife was like, Muhammad, you got to stop that, because a lot of people don't. So I've calmed a lot down since the last 5-6 years. I've been really, containing myself up, because she's right. Yes, Islamically speaking, I shouldn't be cursing, right? If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this the right way, right? And we've become a society where, you can't say certain things. You can't talk a certain type of way, your tone, the way we talk. And that's the other thing I've noticed with parents, the way they talk to their children. We're not talking to them. We're yelling at them, right? We're yelling at our kids. Why are you doing that? And I get all the time, why can't you just stop using drugs? Oh, well, why can't you stop watching TV? Why can't you stop breathing? Why can't you stop being diabetic? Why can't you stop? You can't just say, why can't he just stop using? Right? If you're using for a certain amount of time, and it usually takes about 6 months to a year to develop a new habit, and anything, whether it's biting your nails or smoking weed or doing, it takes about 6 months to a year. And that's why most drug court programs, most programs in general, are about a year long, because it takes about 6 months to a year to break that habit and refill it with something new. right? And that's what I've been doing for most of my career. I've been breaking people's habits, establishing a new one, and keeping them on that healthy path, right? And again, it takes about 6 months to a year to develop that habit and make something a new routine. Doing drugs becomes a routine, right? It's just like drinking water to these guys. It's just like going to the bathroom. It's a routine that they've instilled themselves, that I can't go to school without getting high. I can't eat. Marijuana gets me my appetite back. I can't sleep unless I smoke a fat blunt. I've heard all the stories, and within the first 3 months of them stopping using, I've seen even the Muslims. They'll come after 2 weeks of not using. Brother, I can't focus. I'm a mess. And it's the withdrawal symptoms, right? They go through withdrawal symptoms of that first 3 weeks. Then after the first month or two, you start to see the sweats. They're getting the sweats. It's cold as heck in the room. It's 30 degrees. It's cold, and they're sweating. Again, withdrawal symptoms, right? And after this withdrawal symptoms, after they go through all that stuff, 4 months, you start to see them start to clarify. Their mind starts to clarify. Man, I was an idiot. I was so dumb. I can't believe I did all that stuff. Man, Mr. Muhammad, what's wrong with me? And then after that, it's like, okay, bro, you messed up. That's the past. Let's work about the future now. Now you're clear-headed. 6 months clean. Let's do it, bro. Let's work together, girl. Come on, let's get this going. And then you'll start to see the positive changes. And subhanAllah, Allah's blessed me to be able to keep in tabs with some of my kids that I worked with along the way. And subhanAllah, one of my kids, I was working with him when he was like 10 years old in Pennsylvania. And he messaged me on LinkedIn, Mr. Muhammad, man, it's me, Derek from Pennsylvania, remember? And, jogged my mind. And he said, man, that lawnmower you gave me, guess what? I'm like, what, man? What's going on? I started my own company. I'm landscaping. I do snow plowing. I do this. And I'm like, bro, how old are you now? Mr. Muhammad, I'm like 24 years old now. Like, oh my, and again, like you think that you don't really make an impact, but then you see a message like that and you're like, oh my God, subhanAllah, alhamdulillah. So it does work if you want it to work. If everybody in the house, everybody in the community is together on it. And we're not making fun of each other. We're not saying, oh, look at Layla's daughter. Oh, Layla's daughter's a mess. Or look at Brother Ibrahim's, the granddaughter. We can't make fun of each other. We have to help each other. I'm sorry, you got two people with their hands up. I apologize.
Yeah, go ahead, Sister Norto. You have a question? Go ahead.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum to all of y'all. I have a question for Brother Muhammad. Do you think that environment plays a big role in this, like with your job? Does it play? Because I know that some of the people that we used to grow up with, like their families put them in an environment that's like, mostly people in there, they use drugs and stuff. And I've seen the Muslim kids that I used to grow up with now on Facebook and stuff, they do drugs, do marijuana and all that stuff, which is very sad because there used to be kids that were like really good kids, and the environment they were placed in, the people they used to hang out with, they started picking up, because it is true, the people that you hang out with, you start to pick up their aspects, and you start to do what they do. So that's why it's very important to choose your friends wisely. Mm-hmm. And have you seen like in your job, like depending on like, the environment of how a kid is brought up in, that could also affect, what they go into?
Yes and no. Yes, the environment plays a huge role in that. If you're in a bad environment, it's going to be really tough for you to be a good kid. Right. And I've seen it from the years of experience of doing this. It's really hard for most of my career was with juveniles. So I would take those kids out of that environment, put them in a different environment, right? Because my main thing was, we're putting these kids, we're locking them up, and then we're taking them out and we're putting them right back in their houses, right? And they would go right back to the same environment, the same friends, the same people, the same neighborhood. But once you took those kids out and we put them in a different environment, we put them on a different campus, or we put them in a different, foster care or in a different place altogether, you would see the changes, right? But again, it also goes to the people who are coming from these rich neighborhoods with rich families. And, Brother Dermali knows what, like Weston, right? And over here in Broward County, we have a place called Weston, which is like the richer, high-end area where these kids are rich. They come from very wealthy parents, they judges and lawyers and attorneys or whatever they want to be, where their kids are doing drugs. And it's not because they come from a bad neighborhood or they come from a bad environment, but they're just bored, or their mom and dad don't have time for them because they're so busy making money, right? And we've come to this, we're in this society where we worship money before Allah, right? And if you look at the way history played itself out, right? Back in the olden days, if you were a high priest, you were like here. Everybody respected you. Everybody loved you. Everybody wanted to be a priest, right? And then, a priest went down here, and now it's, oh, I have this much money. I'm more wealthier than you. And now we respect these people. We listen to these people who have no knowledge of anything other than making money or whatever. But we worship the dollar before we worship Allah. And once you start to do that, I noticed we lose track of our children. We lose track of our families. We lose track of our deen. We lose track of each other. And then kids fall between the cracks, right? And yes, environment does play a big role, but also I've seen people who were big time in Pennsylvania. I remember this this guy who was the biggest imam out there. Like, he would go travel the world and see things, different things, and do different things. And his wife at one time came out and asked me some questions about drugs and alcohol. And, I know your family. I know you do this. I know you do that. Can you help me with some stuff? And it wasn't my child. I know somebody. That was how she came out to me. And in my head, I kind of knew it's her. She's got a problem, but she's too embarrassed, which I get. And it took her 3 or 4 talks to finally say, okay, it's my son. How do I fix him? How do I fix him? That's everybody's like, give him something to fix him. And that doesn't work that way. And I will tell you, just from being raised in America, I went to Plantation High School, which was back then, I don't know, Brother Ablim can justify my thing, but it was a drug capital back in my days. Back in the 90s, Plantation High School down here was all about marijuana and cocaine, right? And I didn't touch anything. It wasn't because my dad told me it was haram or halal. No, I just didn't have it in my conscience to want to even do that. I cared about my exercising. I cared about my track, my football, my scholarships, my schooling. I cared about that stuff, right? And here now we don't push that anymore on our children. We push fast money. We want to have that money so we can buy the newer car, so we can keep up with the Joneses. I want to keep up with my neighbors who got that Lexus. We want to keep up with all these people. I don't care about that kind of stuff. And I've taught my children not to care about that kind of stuff, because at the end of the day, you can't take any of that stuff with you, right? When you die, when I go to funerals and I see they don't take their cars with them. They're not taking their car keys with them. They're not taking all that money with them. All we get to take with us is our deeds, right? And this is what I do here, is to try to make up for anything that I've done in my past, to try to help as many people as I can. So when you see your friends doing something, your job as a Muslim woman is, hey, listen, that's not good. As a Muslim in general, hey, that's not good. There's a reason for that. This does this to your body. I tell people, why do you think they ask you when you go to a doctor? The first question they ask when you go to a doctor, do you drink or smoke? Why? Because they know if you drink, they're going to check your liver, they got to check your kidneys, they got to check your arteries. If you smoke, they got to check your lungs, they got to check your veins, they got to check your heart. So they know it's bad for you. And then if at the end of the day, if they don't listen to what you're saying, then you push yourself out of that situation. You get away from all that. Because at the end of the day, you can't change people. People got to change themselves. And again, that's why I say people that need to listen to this aren't here, right? And they won't come to these things because they don't want to hear, because they don't want to know that they have a problem. We have the problem because we're telling them what they're doing is wrong. Sorry if I took too long in that one.
Alhamdulillah, yeah, this is true. And one thing that we have to remember too, that Islam, our way of life, is so complete that our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us that these things would impact us as a nation. He said that one of the signs of the last hour will be the increase in substance abuse and substance usage. Dr. Ibrahim Jamali, do you see that being the case now today?
Actually, big time, yes. Actually, especially after COVID-19, a lot of things change. May Allah remove this virus away from everyone. But unfortunately, brother and sister, not in our area, actually, I travel different state, and here, every community, they are suffering about that. And we have to fix it as soon as possible, because life is very short, brother and sister.
And how about in the Muslim lands? Do we see a lot of drug substance abuse in the Muslim populated lands too, Dr. Jamali?
Trust me, absolutely, yes. On daily basis, I have not only that. I am from Gaza, as you know, brother and sister. From Gaza Strip, they call me regarding this. A friend from Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, yesterday, they called me from the same problem. So it's an international. not only in the United States of America.
Yeah, we think it's just in America, but it's not. I've seen, even then, if you watch the news and you see what's going on in Saudi Arabia, where they're having the raves and the parties now,
Yes.
they're drinking, they're partying, they're doing, and these are, you know, and I'm scared. I always talk to my mom because my mom always thought we would talk about the signs of the end of days, and it makes me nervous. I'm like, Mom, I didn't think I was gonna live through this. You know, I was hoping to be dead before this happened, and I'm seeing it happen. And I see my own kids, and I see my brother's kids who are, you know, 4 or 5 years old, and I'm like, man, these guys are gonna have to live and fight hard to be able to push yourself against the grain, because it is hard. It is very hard to be a Muslim in this society, very hard. And I've seen the people who are converts who come to Islam from Christianity, from Catholics. These guys, when they come from a different religion, I've noticed that these guys have more love for Islam, more respect for Islam than the people who are born Muslims. And then what makes me like happy is hopefully those are the ones, the converts are going to be the ones that bring the ones who are born Muslims back to Islam the way it's supposed to be, right? And take the Quran for what it's worth. Don't, you know, you don't take a word out here, and you know, I tell these brothers and sisters all the time, you can Google whatever you want to Google about Islam and find what you want to find, right? You can find as drinking haram, and you can find a guy who's the sheikh says drinking is not haram as long as you don't get drunk. You know, you're starting to see these things come out now where the shuyukh are coming up with different okaysisms, right? It's okay to do this. It's okay to do that. No, it's not. It's at the end of the day, it's haram is haram, halal is halal. And I always get, and listen, in Pompano Beach, I was listening to the sheikh, some kid asked the sheikh a question, and he said it straight up, and I got so frustrated with them. I'm like, bro, I love you. Why are you saying like that? Because all he said was, brother, sheikh, he's like, sheikh, I have a question. The sheikh was, it's haram. Allah says it's haram. It blew my mind. The kid's coming to you, asking you to question. Take the time, and this goes to everybody here who's a parent, anybody here who's a sister, an older sister, or older brother. When somebody's coming up to you and asking you a question, listen to the question in its entirety. Don't listen to just the words. Listen to the tone of how somebody's asking you that question, because you can see that behind that words, there's a really different question that they want to ask you, right? And maybe that's I've been doing this for such a long time that I can sense what people are thinking and what people are saying, but there's a question behind the words that somebody's asking with the tone that they're saying, right? I can say I love you, but I can say it in so many different tones. They'd be like, well, do you really love me? Like there's a tone that people say, and it's funny because my kids will talk, and I'm like, that's not what you really mean. Oh, Dad, you're too much. Like, like I grab onto these things, and as a parent, as parents that are on here, listen to the tones, listen to the words, hear what your kids are saying. Don't react so quickly. Just listen, hear what they're saying, contemplate a thought process. It's okay to take 2, 3, 5 seconds to think of something before you respond, right? Because we're so quick to respond. We want to respond, boom, boom, boom. No, I tell people, take a deep breath before you respond. Contemplate that thought in your head, and then say it. Because that response that you're going to say is going to either turn that person off from wanting to ask you any more questions, or they're not going to just talk to you anymore ever again. And you don't want that to happen with your family. Sorry, go ahead.
Alhamdulillah, mashallah, this was a great and informative session. And what we decided to do was to break this topic up into 3 parts. And alhamdulillah, today we discussed some of the causes, that is causing our nation to turn to drugs and turn to substance abuse, like he said, divorce, problems within the marriage, not being able to handle anxiety, not being able to deal with depression, the bullying amongst our children, and just trying to keep up with the in crowd. Next week, inshallah, what we would like to do is speak about how we can prevent some of these causes. And so, Dr. Ibrahim Jamali, would you like to share the closing comments and close us out for today, inshallah? Go ahead.
Actually, Brother Muhammad just said something very important, and he actually twice he spoke about this, and Sister Layla also. Very important, brother and sister. If actually this is recently, husband and wife came to me, and both of them they speak and yelling and gave the rules. Please listen to each other and reply. And both of them they speak. After they finish, I say, "Can you repeat what you just said?" "Oh, no." And I asked the lady, "Can you repeat what you just said before?" She forgot. Why? Because it is absolutely impossible. Both couple together speaking the same time understand each other, period. Brother Muhammad is right. The most important thing for safe conversation, listen to each other, understand each other. After completely finish, may Allah give rahmah Sheikh Al-Albani, one of my sheikh. Sheikh Al-Albani, people that argue about ilm al-hadith, the science of the hadith. He always listen. After they finish, Sheikh, may Allah give him rahmah, and he said, "Did you finish?" And the man, he said, "Yes." So, "Are you sure you finish?" So, "Yes, I absolutely finished 3 times." Yes. I said, "Okay, now I will let me speak without interruption, please." This is the excellent example. I saw that with the Sheikh, may Allah give him rahmah. Brother and sister, Brother Muhammad mentioned that a few times. Listening to each other, understand what he's saying, that you absorb his anger and his feeling, you absorb it. And the only solution with that here. May Allah Azza wa Jal guide us to right back, all of us, brothers and sisters. Also, Sister Layla and Brother Muhammad. Sister Layla, she spoke about Quran and Sunnah. And actually, not only that, it's the whole website about Sunnahfollowers, Quran and Sunnah. If we live Quran and Sunnah, a true living ayat, hadith, our life will be safe, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us and guide our house and our houses, our kids, ya Rabbi. Ameen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us, all of us. Ameen, ya Rabbi. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.